what happens next to them is as interesting a question as who you're happiest to see the back of. So I'm going to show you what I consider to be the two extremes of what the Conservative Party represents. And in some way, the difficulty or even the failure to have an effective umbrella under which both of these characters could reasonably shelter cuts to the very heart of the modern Tory malaise. We'll begin with Suella Braverman, who held her seat in Fareham and then went off on, I believe the technical term is, went off on one.
I want to briefly address the result in the rest of the country. And there is only one thing that I can say. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my party didn't listen to you. The Conservative Party has let you down. You, the great British people, voted for us over 14 years, and we did not keep our promises. We've acted as if we're entitled to your vote, regardless of what we did, regardless of what we didn't do, despite promising time after time that we would do those things. And we need to learn our lesson, because if we don't, bad as tonight has been for my party, we'll have many worse nights to come. The country deserves better, and we've got to do better. And I will do everything in my power to rebuild trust. We need to listen to you. You have spoken to us very clearly.
She's so stupid. Sorry, I've tried quite hard to be polite today, but my goodness me, there's something really noticeable, isn't there, about really stupid people who think they're clever. Do you hear her talking? She said absolutely nothing there. It was undiluted gibberish. Sorry, and also this, but then that, and their promises. Please let me be leader. Just extraordinary, because it's not a failure built. She was Home Secretary under both of the last two prime ministers, one of the very, very highest offices of state. So that represents continuity. Tory. That's Brexit, Boris Johnson conservatism. That's washing your hands of responsibility for the things that you are yourself responsible for. How can somebody who's been Home Secretary under Sunak and under Liz Truss somehow talk as if they had nothing to do with the failures of the last couple of governments? Absolutely unbelievably awful. At the other extreme of the same party is Jeremy Hunt, who also hung on to his seat, but has, of course, lost his job as Chancellor of the Exchequer. Here's just compare and contrast.
Across the country tonight is a bitter pill to swallow for the Conservative Party. We have achieved much in government and the economy is transformed from where it was post-pandemic. Some Conservatives will wonder whether the scale of our crushing defeat is really justified. But when you lose the trust of the electorate, all that matters is having the courage and humility to ask yourself why, so that you can earn it back again. I was incredibly proud to serve under Rishi Sunak, but I wish the incoming Labour government well. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are decent people and committed public servants who have changed the Labour Party for the better. Whatever our policy differences, we all now need them to succeed. I hope in particular they use their majority to make much needed reforms to the NHS in a way that is sometimes difficult for Conservative governments to do.
That's it really, isn't it? That is the dilemma the Conservative Party faces. More of the same, or a return to the respectability that Jeremy Hunt, for all his weirdness, that Jeremy Hunt represents. I think that's a fairly neat. The ambassador for hatred in Suella Braverman's case. Thank you for that, Alex. That's a lovely description that I shall be using moving forward. Or the sort of traditional respectability of the Tory party. I'm going to ask you what do you think is going to happen to them now? Where do you think the Tory Party is going to go? Where do you want the Tory Party to go? What is going to happen to the Tory Party? But I also want to invite you to tell me who you are happiest to see the back of. A lot of people are telling me that I need to listen to Steve Baker's goodbye speech, but I haven't got that handy. What I do have is him talking to Nick earlier today in terms that don't do much to undermine the impression many of us have had for some years that Steve Baker is an absolute...
I fought this campaign to win. I wanted to win. I wanted to go ahead and do my duty. But, Nick, I have to tell you, it is a dreadful job, and I am just thanking God it's over and behind me, and I will not be back. My house is like Fort Knox now. I've been threatened with hanging, my throat's slit, acid. I constantly carry this SOS device because, if I get stabbed, I'd prefer not to bleed to death on the ground. Constant abuse on social media. It goes on. So, look, I'm really very happy that I've got my life back. I'm not sorry. My identity is not tied up in being a member of Parliament.
He was talking about being leader yesterday. Literally talking about being leader yesterday. I mean, goodness me. Let's have a little listen to... this might be my favourite, although it's going to be fairly stiff competition.
Well, I have a very reasonable expectation of what is happening to me, but I won't tell you because I think it's disrespectful to the returning officer. We're going down like ninepins, and that is the conclusion of this evening, and I'm very sorry to see Penny has lost her seat.
I detect from that, and I don't want to offend anybody, still least a returning officer, but I detect that you may not be overly confident about holding your seat. Going down like ninepins, my question is, why do you think you're going down like ninepins?
Oh, because we've abandoned the core vote of the Conservative Party, which has gone off to reform. We have no absolute right to any particular voter set, and the people most supportive of core Conservative principles are the ones who seem to have left us in the largest numbers.
Fascinating. So again, Rees-Mogg arguing they haven't been racist enough, whereas Jeremy Hunt extending the olive branch, if you like, of mutual respect to Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves. And of course, he did indeed fall like a ninepin.
Jacob William Rees-Mogg, Conservative Party candidate, 15,400. Dina Romero, Liberal Democrats, 3,878. So the total number of ballot papers was 51,125. There were 142 rejected ballot papers, and I hereby declare that Dan Norris is duly elected to serve as a Member of Parliament for North East Somerset and Ham constituency.
May I begin by giving my warmest congratulations to Dan Norris, who has been a servant of North East Somerset, or Wanstead as it then was before, and I'm sure will be a devoted constituency MP in future. And congratulate Sir Keir Starmer, who has led his party to what seems to be an historic victory. And this is the great virtue of our democracy. So I congratulate both of them. I'd like to thank my wonderful team who have worked so enormously hard, my agent Margaret Brewer and my campaign director Owen Rees, and also my parliamentary staff who have worked so hard for constituents over the last 14 years. They really are the ones who deserve the credit for the kind words people say to me about what I've done as a constituency MP. So I thank them particularly and very warmly. I thank the other candidates, the returning officer who has done this exceptionally well, as always. We've got a result that has come in whilst there isn't yet daylight, which I think is good news. And one final thought from Caractacus Potts, and that is, from the ashes of disaster grow the roses of success. So thank you very much to everybody, and good night.
Jacob Rees-Mogg there getting on his penny farthing. What about Truss? Andy's got me confused. Andy sent me a message. It said, could you please play Liz Truss's concession speech? It's the best thing I have ever heard from her. He's quite right, you know. She didn't say anything.